Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about the Dodge Charger Daytona Scat Pack being spotted in Italy. Now you might be thinking, why the hell is it doing over in Italy? But there's some good reasons why. But there's a lot of stuff that's getting kind of pushed out there, and it's not just on American sites, it's European sites too, that this could be a mule for the next generation Alfa Romeo Giulia. So I wanted to kind of go over these spy images, tell you what my thoughts are, and, kind of let you know what's going on with the Dodge Charger Daytona. So, first of all, my buddy Walter Weyer, who's a spy photographer over in Italy, he's all over Europe. He does France, he does a little bit of everything. But he has his company, Giblet Spy Unit, and he posted these images up on his Facebook page. And these are pictures of what looks to be a 2025 Dodge Charger Daytona Scat Pack. And it's at the Modena assembly plant, which builds the MC20, the super sports car. They're going to be building the Gran Turismo and the Grand Cabrio over there. But they do a lot of validation testing for different future vehicles. He's always out there taking pictures of them. And he happened to see this Charger Daytona sitting over there. And he thinks that maybe it's an Alfa Romeo Mule. So the first thing I know by looking at this car is, one, it looks just like mine. Obviously, it doesn't not have the Sun and Sound group. It does not have the carbon and suede package. It's got the same wheels as mine, but it does not have the Plus package. So I know right there it's a 2025 model because they offer all the 2024s had the Plus package on them. So we can tell that it's probably a late 2025 model. And the very interesting thing is, if we look at these different photos of it, we can see this lot here, and there's tons of prototypes sitting over here. We see this Grucali Fulgor there. We see some MC20s. We see a Gran Turismo. We see a whole bunch of stuff, right? So there's a lot of activity in this lot. But here's this Dodge Charger Daytona. Again, it doesn't look out of place. I mean, it's just sitting there. It's not camouflaged up like some of these cars. It's not got tape and stuff all over it. It just looks stock. If you look at all these vehicles, they're all taped up or camouflaged or have something with them. So, but if we look closer at this image, we can kind of see the interior a little bit. There's no laptop. There's no wires running across the dash. There's no yellow box with a red button for emergency shutdown. There is nothing. This car looks like it just rolled off the line at Windsor and showed up in Europe. So that's a very interesting part there. The second part is, if it's a mule is usually a car that's just kind of thrown together. You'll see them all taped up, having different bodies on them, cut down. I mean, they're just thrown together and they look like crap because they're basically just test mules. They're put together to validate either powertrain or chassis dynamics. They don't really care about the body. It's all about just having one of these vehicles there so they can, use it. So maybe this car has a future being cut down, but from what I'm seeing is it looks like it's just a validation car. And there's more into that. Now, why would people think that this car is a mule for basically the Alfa Romeo Giulia, the next generation car? And I talked a little bit about it back in February. The next generation Alfa Romeo Giulia is supposed to be basically a hatchback design just like the Charger Daytona. And there's a reason why. A lot of people are moving away from passenger cars because they want more capability, more functionality, and more practicality because they want to be able to put stuff in the vehicle. And obviously crossovers and SUVs kind of make more sense because, hey, they have more room in them. So as a Charger Daytona owner, I can tell you that my Charger Daytona has a lot more room and a lot more functionality than my 2023 Chrysler 300 seated, and that trunk was massive to begin with. But now with the hatch, you can put taller objects in. It makes a lot more sense. So it kind of makes sense that, having this as a STLA large vehicle and having the Dodge Charger Daytona as a STLA large vehicle, and both are sedans, it makes sense hey, we could adapt that design. Okay, so a lot of people think that. But the Giulia is a different size than the Charger Daytona. The Giulia is a D segment vehicle. The Charger Daytona is an E-segment vehicle, and they have a hard time selling E-segment vehicles in Europe because the roads are smaller, the cities are more congested. They just have a hard time because E-segment vehicles are pretty big. They do sell them. We know that they sell, the Grand Cherokee is going to be canceled over there because of that and the tariff kind of situation. And then instead they're going to put the smaller D-segment Wagoneer S over there. So, but anyways, the Giulia should grow just a little bit. And we know that the Stelvio, which is going to be basically making its debut later this year, probably within the next couple of months, probably for the 115th anniversary of the Alfa Romeo brand, it's going to be slightly bigger too. So Walter caught back in January, he caught this. This was a Grand Cherokee L, but it was a mule. And the reason why we know it's a mule is there's several reasons. There's actually quite a few Alfa Romeos in this these pictures that I'm going to show you that are using Grand Cherokee L bodies. Okay. The first thing is the Grand Cherokee is an E-segment vehicle, kind of like the Charger Daytona. The Stelvio is a D-segment vehicle. So why would they use different size bodies? Well, basically, if you know anything about the Grand Cherokee and Grand Cherokee L are based on the Giorgio platform. This was an older platform that Stellantis developed, or FCA developed back in 2012, 2013, and it made its debut on the 2015 Giulia and Stelvio. And it's an award-winning platform, and basically the STLA Large platform is an evolution of that. When they say STLA Large, it's the Giorgio platform, but it's been modified to be basically accommodate battery packs. Really, that's really basically the main difference. So it makes sense that they would use the Grand Cherokee L to kind of like be put on the bodies of those, or put as the bodies on the platform for the Stelvio. But you might be thinking, well, why such a big vehicle? Why wouldn't they put the two-row? Well, there's a reason. We've seen some patent drawings that were leaked out from the European Patent Office. And we know the Stelvio is going to be drastically different than the current generation. The first thing is you notice it's going to have like the old Cherokee KL like headlamps down and lower in the front fascia. It's very angular, but if you look at the side profile compared to the current generation Stelvio, you'll notice that it looks like the wheelbase is going to be a lot longer. And if you look at the Stelvio now, the back window actually just kind of curves out, and there's not much of a hatch area. This vehicle, even though there's a drastic slope out the back, the vehicle looks a lot longer. And even looking, like I said, at the wheelbase, it looks like it's going to be longer in general. So having a longer vehicle like the Grand Cherokee L to kind of sit on that platform kind of makes sense now. But if we go through these images, you'll see how we know this is a mule. The first thing is if you look at the front of this vehicle, you'll notice that the hood kind of like sits up on the driver's side. It looks like it's not shut, but if you wander over to the passenger side and look, it's completely flush. So this is just kind of like a thrown-on hood. It's bent up a little bit, but who cares, right? The other thing we notice is this sticker down here that has like a no kind of smoking kind of graphic on it. And we know what that is. It's actually, if we go to some images that were sent to us back in June of 2024, this is a Wagoneer S and a Charger Daytona. At the time, these vehicles were basically charging at an EV Go station near the Auburn Hills campus. And if we go down one more photo, we get a really clear shot of that sticker. And if you look at that sticker, there's a little stick figure guy who's pushing a car. And it's basically, don't push it. So we know during testing all the EVs, not so much, like plugins and stuff like that, but all the EVs had these stickers. We still see them on Wagoneer S prototypes running around, and we still see them on Recon vehicles that are testing. And basically, they don't want you to push or tow this thing unless there's certain procedures done, because it can mess up the powertrain in them. Okay? The only things that we've seen these on are total electric vehicles, not plugins, not hybrids, but EVs. So, does the Jeep Grand Cherokee have an EV version? No, it doesn't even have a 4xe version. And the reason why is because of packaging. They can't put the 3-row version with the 4xe, at least that's what they tell us, because of how the battery layout is. So, with that being said, there are no plans to build a all-electric WL. All right, we know we're going to get a mid-cycle refresh here pretty quick, and they've teased that, but there's no indication that there's going to be a battery electric vehicle at all. None. So this is something different. Now, there's several pictures of this. Now, these vehicles were actually shot in the same lot that Charger was. And if you look here, that Charger was all by itself. But here, we see another one of these Grand Cherokee Ls. And if you look, again, there's that sticker on the back window, same exact sticker, And if you look at the tail lamps, they don't line up necessarily properly, right? And then if you look at the hood, it's got that same thing. It's not sitting flush. Okay. If we move down to this vehicle closest to us, this is another Grand Cherokee L. However, this looks to be like a limited model. If we look at the wheels and stuff, it just looks to be a limited. However, there's no sticker on there saying don't tow it, don't push it. And then if we look, because of the railing, we got kind of like a cutoff, so we can't see the exhaust tips and stuff. But on the gas cap, what we've seen over the years with these prototypes is all of them are marked with what kind of fuel. It doesn't matter if it's diesel, premium, mid-grade, whatever they're putting in this thing, they mark the doors on them. That way, whoever is filling the vehicle up won't screw up their testing by putting the wrong fuel in it. So this has one of those. So this leads me to believe that this one is an internal combustion engine Grand Cherokee. Now, why I say this is because we know that Stelvio is going to be a multi-energy vehicle. Alfa Romeo basically said they were going to be all battery electric vehicles by 2027. However, in the last year, that's changed. Now we're going to have internal combustion, hybrid, and EV versions of the Stelvio and Giulia. So it makes sense that, hey, even if this is just a normal Grand Cherokee sitting there, it could be a validation vehicle for something like a platform or whatever. We don't know because we can't see the whole vehicle. There's one more shot that Walter gave us too, and we see that vehicle that we were originally looking at up on the right side up against the building in this photo. But over to the left, we see basically these overhangs, and there's two more Grand Cherokees that are in there, and both are L's. The first thing is the one closest to the original vehicle we were looking at, its hood doesn't line up right. It looks like it's kind of smashed up in the front a little bit. Okay. We look at the one closest to us, we see that there's some kind of silver tape hanging off of it. And the very interesting thing about that is it could be tape, it could be some kind of like sensors. We've seen vehicles with sensors before hanging off the side, it could be for noise and vibration, who knows. I can't tell because the images are so far away, but nonetheless, this is also looks to be a mule for the Giulia or the Stelvio. So again, there's multiple of these vehicles. There's only one of those Chargers. Now, why would I think that it's a validation car? So back in December, I wrote this article, Dodge Charger Daytona heads to Europe for 2026, sources say. Now, what we were being told by several sources is that Dodge has plans to expand their footprint in Europe using the new Dodge Charger Daytona. And not just the two-door, but the four-door as well. And that's kind of on par because like yesterday was actually supposed to be the actual kickoff day for 2026 production at Windsor for the Dodge Charger Daytona. However, that's been kind of delayed because of the tariff situation. So we're waiting to hear from Dodge like when these vehicles are going to be starting to actually be built. However, there's still plans in the works to bring these to Europe. Now, Dodge has been expanding itself in Europe quite a bit over the last couple of years, especially. They've been sponsoring superbike events, SBK Superbikes. They're the official pace car, and in a bunch of different things. They've been doing different, owners events and all this other stuff. But they've also released special edition versions of the Charger, Challenger, and the Durango over there. So basically, they got the the Durango Alchemy, the last of the 392s over there. They got the Dodge Charger and Challenger Swinger editions of the last call cars, and they also got the Shakedown last call car as well. So there was various cars that they released, and people are very excited about American muscle over there. So to put the Dodge Charger Daytona over there makes even more sense because they have a better infrastructure for EVs. A lot of countries have embraced the whole EV thing. Not all of them. There's a big pushback in Italy. There's a big pushback in Germany. But, a lot of countries have embraced the EV thing. So it kind of makes sense if Dodge is going to expand their footprint that they would be going over there and, marketing this vehicle. Now, we've seen some displays and stuff that have the Dodge Charger Daytona as a marketing tool at some of these events, but they never had a car on display. It was always like posters or banners, kind of at different Dodge kind of displays and stuff. But if we go to the Dodge Europe website, this is where it gets kind of funny. If you go over there, they show off the 2024 Dodge Durango Alchemy, and here it is. We didn't replace the Legend, we built upon it. While they're not showing it here on the website, It's on the front page, and it's down here too at the bottom. So they are getting ramped up to show this car off over there. And again, you can see right here, it talks just like it's going to be coming over there. It talks about, instead of, pound feet, it says Newton meters. It's, them marketing the car. They're not going to be shy about showing this car off over there. So I guarantee that that car is all about validation. They're getting ready to take and show that car off over there, and they're going to start opening orders probably by the end of the year. So that's the reason why I'm saying this. It's kind of dragged out. Yes, I understand that, but there's a whole bunch of reasons behind it. But I've seen multiple European websites say that Walter's pictures are Alfa Romeo Giulia Mule pictures, and it doesn't look like that at all. Dodge is expanding its presence in Europe, and they're really pushing forward to be the all-American muscle car brand over there. Will the six-pack cars go over there? We don't know yet. We haven't heard anything about the six-pack cars being, sent over to Europe, but the Dodge Charger Daytona sounds like it would probably be the first version of the car to be sent over there, alongside the Durango. And obviously the Hornet's not sold over there because they're more about the Alfa Romeo Tonale. So to push Dodge forward over there, they gotta send something, and the Daytona makes the most sense. It actually makes more sense to have the Daytona over there than it does here because of all the pushback from, internal combustion and Hemi owners and stuff. So Dodge kind of has the upper hand because of this multi-energy strategy that they're doing. They're going to have an internal combustion car, they're going to have an all-electric car, and they can take advantage of that in Europe. So with that being said, what do you think? Do you think that this car here is nothing but a validation car like I think, and that, pretty soon they're going to release maybe orders or actually show the car off over there? Or do you think that this is going to be like either cut up or maybe is an Alfa Romeo Giulia, like Mule, like some of the European outlets are saying? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next video.